Craving something quick and delicious that doesn't take all night to prepare? Let's face it, sometimes hunger hits so hard that the thought of whipping up an elaborate dish like macarons or barbecue peri-peri chicken is just too much. In times like these, we turn to a universal lifesaver: noodles. Noodles come in countless forms, from the spicy tang of pepper noodles to the rich flavors of prawn laksa. But some recipes stand out for their unique taste and cultural significance: ramen and pho. Though both dishes boast noodles and broth at their core, their flavors and traditions are quite different. If these two were placed side by side, which one would come out on top as the ultimate noodle dish? Stick with me to the end of this video, and let's get the broth boiling as we explore the delectable worlds of ramen and pho. Ramen and pho are some of the most popular noodle recipes, both having irresistible taste that will leave you begging for one last round, if prepared properly. These two soups have so much in common, like orange and tangerine, from the arrangement of toppings to the exotic flavors in them. Pho is a light Vietnamese noodle dish prepared using herbal broth, rice noodles, and some meat toppings. Ramen, on the other hand, is of Japanese origin and is prepared with thicker broth and wheat noodles. If you've ever been lost on which one of these to add to your menu, you're in the right place. This food is believed to be of Chinese origin. However, the broth used to prepare it is a product of Japanese creativity. The recipe consists of wheat noodles, a thick, savory broth, and different kinds of toppings: pork belly, green onion, seaweed, beef, corn, ground pork, chashu, and much more as you please. That's only a short list. Some people would love to top theirs with fresh scallions and boiled eggs. There's no rule to it. At its core, ramen is a simple yet delectable combination of wheat flour, water, salt, and a special ingredient known as kansui. A dash of baking soda is also added to give the noodles their characteristic yellow tint. You don't want your noodles to look all white and straight. But what really brings ramen to life is its broth. Let's get cooking. I love my ramen broth, which is thick and heavy. Unlike pho broth, it's always highly rich in the umami flavor. For the sake of this video, we've been practicing just one type of ramen broth. My favorite is tonkotsu. Tonkotsu broth is rich and creamy, which is just how I like it. Here's how it's made. You start with pork bones, usually trotters or pork hocks, which are rich in collagen. First, these bones are cleaned and then simmered in a cauldron of boiling water. The magic happens over 12 to 24 hours as the collagen from the bones breaks down, transforming the water into a rich elixir. To elevate the broth's depth, an ensemble of aromatics is introduced. Onions, garlic, ginger, and perhaps a handful of scallions meld their flavors into this potent mix. After achieving the perfect richness, the broth is strained to discard the bones and herbs, leaving behind a creamy, intensely pork-flavored base. A splash of soy sauce or a pinch of salt fine-tunes this foundation, setting the stage for a classic tonkotsu ramen. The final result? A bowl that's profoundly satisfying, bursting with flavor, and distinctly ramenish. It's not just food, it's an experience. The best kind indeed. Here comes the real deal. Once your broth is ready, preparing the noodles becomes the easiest part. Ramen noodles are prepared by boiling a pot of water until it reaches a rolling boil. Once the water is boiling, the ramen noodles are added and cooked, say 2 to 4 minutes. Always remember to stir occasionally to prevent sticking. To check if the noodles are cooked, taste the strength. The noodles should be firm but tender and slightly chewy. Once the noodles are cooked, strain them using a colander or sieve. The strained noodles can then be incorporated into a soup by pouring your already prepared hot tonkotsu broth over them. Once you're done, serve by picking your toppings nicely. Sliced scallions, boiled eggs, nori, seaweed, meat, or vegetables. I prefer my ramen noodles hot, but that depends on your personal preference. And there you go, a homemade treat as you like it. Easy, isn't it? Ramen is good, but how about pho? Pho finds its origins in Vietnam, and these guys don't joke around with their noodles. It's a breakfast as common as cereal is to you, and can always be found in almost any restaurant in Vietnam. The noodles came out strongly just at the peak of French colonialism back in the 19th century. The dish is a mixture of bone broth, rice noodles, which they call ban pho, herbs, and sliced meat. If we compare this with ramen, pho is much lighter and not as deep, but the aroma can stir up your entire city. Okay, just kidding. However, the aroma of pho noodles can be perceived from a distance, and I think I love the garnishing more. How each ingredient is placed side by side with each other to form a colorful recipe. An edge it has over ramen. Toppings like mint leaves, Thai basil, cilantro, jalapenos, or lime wedge are just perfect. And now, let me show you how the broth is made. For this broth, your creativity will come in handy, because there's no one-size-fits-all method for preparing this. But I'll show you my strategy. You start by simmering beef bones, along with roasted onions and ginger, in a large pot of water. The bones used can include beef knuckles, oxtail, or marrow bones, which contribute to the rich and powerful broth. The onions and ginger are often charred before adding them to the pot. It's not a ritual though, just to enhance their aroma and add a subtle smoky note to the broth. Then, to create the distinctive pho flavor, you can season the broth with spices like star anise, cinnamon sticks, cloves, and coriander seeds. Simmer for several hours. Yeah, it might take that long. Allow the flavors to infuse and the collagen in the bones to break down, resulting in a clear and fragrant broth. Once the broth is ready, go ahead and strain it to remove any impurities and serve it hot. Then, garnish with thinly sliced beef or chicken, bean sprouts, fresh herbs, lime wedges, and chili peppers. Good lord! Just don't feed yourself into a coma, okay? Now that our broth is ready, it's time to cook. It takes almost the same process as the ramen noodles. Originally, pho noodles are made from rice flour, water, and maybe a pinch of salt. This process begins by mixing rice flour with water to create a smooth batter. The batter is then poured onto a cloth-covered steamer tray, which is placed over boiling water. The tray is covered and the batter is steamed for a short period until it sets and becomes one big solid sheet. Once this rice noodle sheet is perfectly cooked, it's allowed to cool just a bit before it's cut into individual sheets tailored to your preference. These are then neatly stacked and sliced into thin, ribbon-like strips with a sharp knife, producing a fresh, uncooked pile of pho noodles. What you'll get is a pile of fresh, uncooked pho noodles. The uncooked pho noodles are taken through a process called blanching. Don't worry, you can simply allow it in boiling water to soften them. The blanched noodles are then rinsed with cold water to remove excess starch and prevent them from sticking together. Finally, the cooked and rinsed pho noodles are added to the pho soup bowls, where they soak up the flavors of our delicious broth and give you that satisfying taste at each spoonful. If you've followed this video till now, then you must have spotted the differences already, but I'll spell them out for you. Ramen is a Japanese dish, while pho is a Vietnamese dish. When it comes to the noodles themselves, ramen noodles are typically made from wheat flour and have a slightly chewy texture. On the other hand, pho noodles are usually made from rice flour and are thinner and softer. This means that ramen should last longer on heat than pho. Another key difference between the two dishes is the broth. Ramen broth is usually made from a combination of meat, such as pork, chicken, or beef and bones. It's often simmered for hours to develop a rich taste. Ramen broths can also vary from light and clear to thick and creamy, depending on the style of ramen you choose. The toppings and garnishes also differ between ramen and pho. Ramen toppings often include slices of pork, marinated soft-boiled eggs, green onions, bamboo shoots, and seaweed. Pho, on the other hand, is typically served with thinly sliced beef or chicken, bean sprouts, fresh herbs like Thai basil and cilantro, lime wedges, and chili peppers. Here, ramen is no match for pho. Pho is often customized at the table with the addition of various sauces and condiments like hoisin sauce and sriracha. Speaking of flavors, ramen tends to have a bolder and more intense taste, while pho has a lighter and more delicate flavor profile. Ramen is known for its umami-rich broth, while pho's broth is often not as deep and heavy, but simply light and refreshing. Both ramen and pho have their unique qualities and are beloved by many. Whether you prefer the complex flavors of ramen or the subtle and aromatic notes of pho, it ultimately comes down to personal preference. One slight drawback of pho is that the noodles can become soggy if they sit in the broth for too long. This happens because the soft rice noodles absorbs liquids quickly, unlike the stronger ones used in dishes like ramen. It means you can't keep it for long. Ramen, on the other hand, has high calorie content. A cup of ramen can potentially contain more calories than you would need in a complete day. Both dishes have strengths and weaknesses, and are recipes every food lover should try. Why not? These are some of the best noodles out there. I think I would lean on a ramen dish just because it suits how I want my noodles to be. One bowl of thick soup to enjoy. Which would you prefer? Let me know in the comments. Please don't forget to like these videos and subscribe so we can keep them coming in hot, just like these bowls of love. And I'll see you in my next video. For now, bon appetit!